LLMs break in weird ways. Nir is building a black box recorder that tells you why. You'll learn how Traceloop helps developers trace, debug, and evaluate AI agent behavior in production before it costs you real users. Nir Gazit is a co-founder of Traceloop, a YC-backed startup building the observability stack for AI agents. Before this, he led the ML-driven growth at Google and was a chief architect at Fiverr. Hey, everyone. David Stepania here with Nir Gazit. Today, we're going to be talking about Traceloop, the company Nir is building. Nir is from Israel. He just raised a $6 million round, seed round, and we're going to talk about what they're doing, who the product is for, what problem it solves. And yeah, let's dive in. Nir, tell me what you're building.
So we're building Traceloop, which is an OpenTelemetry native platform for evals, monitoring, and deployment of better GenAI based applications.
Got it. And how did you end up here? Like, what's your background?
So I used to work at Google for many years. I led a team of ML engineers. We were building models for training kind of like user engagement models for like predicting user engagement. I then went to work at Fiverr, where I was the chief architect. And there, yeah, there I kind of re-met my co-founder. We used to be roommates, and we served together in the army, and then we worked together at Fiverr. And he was at Fiverr. He was leading Fiverr's machine learning platform. And we quit together. It was right when OpenAI released, GPT-3. It was kind of like an inflection point. Everyone was talking about, okay, this is interesting. Something big has happened. And kind of what we saw is that it's so easy to build stuff with GPT. It's so easy to build something on top of that. But it's kind of, that's the problem, because you can build crazy, machine learning applications on top of GPT-3 and then 4, but you're missing, because of that, you're missing a lot of the foundations we used to have when we were kind of building classic ML models.
Got it. And that's over at Google. So like, how did you transition from companies where you have pretty big teams, everything is tested, to building what you're building? I read that, you were vibe coding a lot, kind of like going with the gut feeling, what's right. And then like, what was the aha moment that you said, like, Traceloop needs to exist? Like, was there like a spark that caused this, this idea came to be, or what was the aha moment that?
So I think we were playing around with GPT. We were trying to build different stuff on top of that. One of the first interesting things we've built was like an agent that tries to build tests automatically for your code. And and it was really complicated to get it to work properly. And I remember we used to have like a couple of like kind of design partners that were using our kind of first version of an agent, and then something didn't work, and we had no idea why, how to reproduce it, how to fix it. We were kind of completely lost. And so then we were like, okay, let's kind of start building something that will help us to do it better. And that was kind of the first version of Traceloop as we know it today.
Nice. What, like, have you had any, like, I'm guessing you've seen some, or maybe you have a couple of crazy stories as to like agents acting out. Like, is there anything you can share that?
Agents, yeah, they can do I think I don't have crazy stories from like customers, because people are still kind of worried, I would say, to give them too much freedom when they work in production. So you don't really see them like they can run any tool that you want, or like they can do whatever you want. They from what we're seeing, engineers, they always try to limit it. So no, just use these two tools now. Just don't do whatever you want, or just do these two types of things. And Actually, I'm really interested and curious to see what will happen when people truly give them like a complete freedom. Like, yeah, this is you can do all of this, you know, just do what you think is best.
Uh, Interesting. Yeah, the first time I was using some AI stuff, I think it was before, the GPT stuff came out. It was updating, your email
Hmm.
templates based on someone's LinkedIn profile. And so one of the or a couple of emails popped up that we sent out without checking, and one of them emailed a prominent CEO of a fairly big company, and because that person had volunteer experience at like a food bank,
Uh-huh.
it said like, "Hey, I see that you're homeless, and like you made it, like you were able to turn this around, and now you're running a big company. Can you tell me like how you did this?" And the CEO responds. Usually, these people don't respond. It's like, "Where did you see that I'm homeless? Like what?" uh,
Honestly, it's like
so
it's a great idea for doing like cold. I think it's like a really good cold outreach email, right? Because you have to answer
yeah,
that.
so
You
at
cannot
least
ignore that.
at least I got an
Yeah,
answer. But
exactly.
yeah, and there was another one where it was like, it sent an email that, like to some Australian guy who was going through like a big lawsuit, again, like a big publicly traded company CEO. And same thing there. There's, right? Like, hey, by the way, like, hope you have a good lawyer. I see that you're going through this lawsuit.
Yeah.
Mocking the guy. But yeah, yeah, on that note, so who is the who's your ICP? Like who's the user of your product? Is it the engineers? The like who's your target
It's
audience?
mainly engineers because at the end of the day, these are the people who care about the quality of their applications. We do have a lot of product managers from the companies we're working with that also use the product. I think, so the idea is that you have an LLM based application, let's say a support chatbot.
Hmm.
And so the engineers are integrating it, and the engineers they want to see their dashboard of okay, what's the health of my system, and when is my system failing? How do I fix it? But then also the product managers is really curious to see, how their users are using their product. What are the places where it's failing, and what should we prioritize? Like what should we fix first? Because this is like what's more important for like our customers. So I would say yeah, engineers are doing integration, but then product managers are also like prominent users of the platform.
Got it. And so how big is this problem? You raised the $6 million seed round. You must, you convinced investors to go all in with you. What were some of the metrics that like stood out, to be able to get that commitment?
So one of the things I haven't mentioned yet here is we've the first thing we've built as part of Traceloop is OpenLLMetry, which is our open source. It's kind of like OpenLLMetry is for data. If it's for collecting data from your application, so like raw data, then you can connect it to
Hmm.
Traceloop, and we know how to analyze this data and give you like another layer of insights and understanding of how your system actually works. But you can also just look at the raw data, and it might be useful at, like during development, for example. And because it's using OpenTelemetry, you kind of like can see this raw data wherever you want. You're using Datadog, you're using Dynatrace, you can just go to these platforms and see everything that we send out. And so this really help our platform to succeed, our open source to succeed. And so OpenLLMetry, we released it. We now have 7K or almost 7K stars, almost 100 contributors, more than a million. I said last week that we have million downloads a month on our open source. Now it's already 2 million. Tens of thousands of like active developers using the open source, and this kind of like really helped us get to a point where I would say our open source is really becoming the go-to standard for how are you doing tracing observability for LLMs.
Got it. So what made you how did you end up with building out this OpenTelemetry, like the open source side of your business? Like how did that came to be?
We when I was at Fiverr, one of the things we've done is we've migrated Fiverr to OpenTelemetry. We've started like adopting OpenTelemetry natively across the stack. And so
Hmm.
we knew about OpenTelemetry, we knew the benefits of OpenTelemetry, and when we were starting to play out with GenAI, we realized, okay, we need observability, and for us it was super clear we need like there's only one way to do it. We need to use OpenTelemetry. It really makes sense. It connects to the rest, like the how you're thinking about like complex LLM workflows. It has to be tracing based on OpenTelemetry. So it was super natural. Nobody has done that when we started working on the open source, which was really weird. I was sure when we released the open source, I was sure someone has already done it before, but we were surprised to see that we were the first ones. And so I think today everyone knows that this is the only way to do observability. Back then, for some reason, nobody did it. We are the first ones.
Got it. Okay, so yeah, makes sense. So how like tell me more about like AI adoption at enterprise. Like, I mean, who's using your product? Are there engineers from enterprise companies? Are they
Yeah,
like startup?
we're mainly focused on enterprises, and I think what we're seeing is that 2025 is the year of Gen AI. So Gen AI, OpenAI released GPT in 2022, and we're in 2025. But I think it's only happening this year. This year we are really, I'm talking to a lot of directors and VPs in many different enterprises, and this is the first year that I hear first, yes, we are using Gen AI. We want to get it into production, and two, we're using agents, which is again something super new for 2025. It's been around for a while.
Hmm.
Nobody, except for maybe startups, nobody was really using these kind of agents in production, and now it's kind of
Hmm.
clear for everyone. Yes, we needed it, and yes, we know where can we actually use it.
Got it. And so what are some places where they can use it? Like what are some good use cases for enterprise AI
So
agents?
there are tons. I would say kind of like the clearest one would be like like a support chatbot to like helping users navigate or use your platform. This is like the clear use case of AI and specifically agents, because you want the chatbot to be able to do actions. So you give it tools to actually do actions in your platform, whether you're like a bank or insurance company or something else.
Hmm.
This is like the one of the clearest use cases. The other one I would say coding. So there's a lot of like companies doing a lot of interesting things with coding. Cursor is one of them, but there are many companies that also like use agents and LLMs to write code and write tests in like various different scenarios. And the third one might be like a lot of internal use cases. So think about
Hmm.
companies um, like financial institutions or insurance companies that have a lot of or health companies that have a lot of data, a lot of documents that they need
Hmm.
to analyze. So instead of like doing a lot of like the analysis and the structuring of the data manually or like heuristically, now they can just use LLMs. So they have millions of documents, they analyze them with LLMs, summarize them, structure them, and then they can use them, down the line, down the line in their platform.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think healthcare, I hear, is a big
Yeah.
thing, at least in the US. It's a $1 trillion market, and there's so much like, or there's not much like
Yeah.
automation done yet. And I think the AI is really,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, growing big there. Sounds good. I guess like how big, like, because there's like, I think even today, like, there's all this haters that are out there that says like, oh, AI is all hype. We don't see the deployment in enterprise. Like, do you think that will change?
People still,
There's I
you think people still say it? I think we, we went past it.
think That's what I thought, but there's still some. I mean, and from me, like as soon as I saw this technology come out, I was like, look, I think there's a lot of jobs that are in trouble. Like I have like a business, well, not similar to
Yeah.
Fiverr, but it's a marketplace for talent, and I'm like, I think I'm in trouble a little bit here too. So, but yeah, there's definitely people who say that. I think there's, as a matter of fact, there's a guy on my LinkedIn who does works for a similar company as Gartner,
Mhm.
and he says that he does not see AI deployments working out for enterprise. A lot of stuff is stuck in the POC concept, but I don't know. Like, what do you see? You're in the trenches. You're on the ground. Like, do you see like positive movement, or towards adoption of AI at these enterprises, or like is there still a lot of
This
problems
year, I think
popping
this
up?
year, this year is like the year of AI for enterprises. I think we're starting to see a lot of adoption. We just came
Hmm.
back from San Francisco. There was the AI Engineer World Fair, which is like kind of slowly
Hmm.
becoming like the largest GenAI AI conference in the Bay Area, and there
Hmm.
were tons of enterprises, banks, um, health companies, insurance companies, big tech companies. They're looking and trying to understand, what can they do with AI? How do they get it into production? So I think this year we're gonna see more and more use cases actually getting into production, getting into like mass usage.
Hmm.
Um, I think the interesting thing about AI, like Gen AI
Hmm.
specifically, uh,
Hmm.
there's like it's a combination of two features that can like really drive adoption and just has driven adoption up until now, but it even accelerates now. And I think it's like a combination of, okay, LLMs are really powerful, so you can do a lot of things it was really complex to do it in the past. Now it's becoming super easy to do it. So one, super easy to use. One, super powerful, and then B, super easy to use. You use like
Hmm.
training an ML model for like simple classification tasks was daunting. You need to know a lot of you need to know a lot about how to train models. You need to be a data scientist. You need to like understand what you're doing. Nowadays, you don't
Hmm.
really need to understand what you're doing. You're like vibing it. You just, I want the LLM to classify my emails. I will just ask it nicely, and hopefully it will do it. I just need to know. I need to speak English. This is like the prerequisite to use an LLM. So there's like this weird combination of like super powerful things which are super easy to use. So of course, everyone is gonna start adopting it. So and it's gonna work.
Got, got it. Well, on that note, I saw you had a YouTube video posted and a LinkedIn post that said prompt engineering is dead. Like what made you say that?
It's not engineering. Like it was never engineering, and it never really existed. People say prompt engineering, but usually what they do is that they, as I said, like they write the prompt, and then if it doesn't work, they like try to ask the LLM to do what they want it to do more nicely. It's like, okay, it's not I don't know, it's giving the wrong answer in these cases. So I'm gonna say, please make sure, no, 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 you're really talented, whatever. Like, this is not engineering. Like when I used, still write code, but when I used to write more code, when something didn't work, I knew that there is a bug. I needed to find that bug and fix it. It was like
Mhm.
super deterministic. Like, there's a bug because something that I wrote is wrong, and if I make it right, it will work. With prompt engineering,
Mhm.
who knows like why writing it that way and not the other way makes the failure or error rate drop or increase.
Mhm. A follow-up question on that. I mean, maybe unrelated to everything that we're talking about, but like, so how do you skill up like junior talent who is like trying to get a job? Like even my cousin, for example, like he was an intern with us, and then I gave him some projects, and he tried to vibe code some of that stuff, but he didn't quite understand like what how was the thing that he built work in, and then as soon as he tried to make modifications to it, it just like kept getting stuck, right? And so there's all this talent on the sidelines or just graduating from schools, and like I think senior engineer, senior talent now, like they can do so much more with AI, but like at what point like do like will like engineering like as like a like as a career start growing again, or like are we gonna keep seeing like diminishing need for more engineers? Like what's your thoughts on that?
I think there's a, first of all, there's a saying, there's something I like saying is that using like these AI coding agents is a problem for all engineers, not just juniors. It feels like, the juniors are becoming redundant because you're thinking to yourself, as a senior, I don't need a junior because I can just use these AI coding agents. But I think everyone everyone today that is not using AI coding agents will be replaced. So you have to use AI coding agents. Having said that, I think the main difference I see with between the like juniors and the seniors is something that you also said now, is like how much they understand about what the AI agent is doing. Seniors, they do vibe coding, but at the end of the day they look at the code that was generated, they understand the logic behind it, and they can fix it. Juniors don't bother doing that. They kind of trust the AI because probably the AI knows best. And if the AI writes something, some piece of code, it's probably right. They never bother to actually go and understand it. And that's a real problem, because if you don't understand what you're doing, you're not becoming more professional in your profession. And I would say like I think there will be even more need for engineers. The job will be a bit different, but you will still, at the end of the day, you still need to build a system. So you're using some part that you used to like need to write yourself. Now you can automate part of it, but you still need to build a system, right? Like the AI is not going to build the entire system for you. It's not going to figure out, how to like choose a cloud provider, understand the architecture, build an architecture, debug some bug and some issue. There will still need to be some human in the loop. It will just do something else.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think we're ever gonna reach a point where that's just not the case, where AI just writes good code and like helps understand broken English?
No, I don't, not with the current technology. I think what we see is what we can get with the current technology. Maybe there's something hiding somewhere, but right now with current technology, this is where we get. The AI is really really good at convincing you that it thinks like a human, but it doesn't. It's just like it's trying really hard to mimic your behavior. It's not really thinking. It's not really inferring anything. So this is the limit, and this is why we can. There's certain things you can do really well with AI. There are certain things you just cannot do with AI at all.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense. And so, I mean, so what's your thought? Like, is AGI possible? Like, are we gonna reach that point where, like with with new emerging AI technology, maybe not GPTs, there are some ways, or GPTs or LLMs, we can get to AGI. Do you think there's a possibility there?
Yeah, not with LLMs. Something will need to change. We are some new technology, and who knows, like something. There need to be some like a big development in order for us to get into AGI. There's a saying I really like. I saw it from someone on Twitter, but I really like it. I think someone important said it like 100 years ago. But it's like it goes like this. It's like people tend to overestimate the technological advancements we're going to have in the next 2 years and underestimate the ones we're going to have in the next 10 years. So this is why I feel now with AI. People think like, yeah, AGI is around the corner. No, I don't think so. 10 years might be, but 2 years from now, I think, a year from now, we're going to be at the kind of the same area where we are now, like maybe more adoption, more gonna get a bit of maturity, but nothing drastic.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like, I mean, there's still so many companies sitting on the sideline in terms of AI. I mean, there's still so much more adoption that can
Yeah.
happen. Um, so going back to Traceloop, I see that you're working with Cisco, Miro, IBM. Like, how did you acquire those clients or those users? Was it through was it all through
All through
your open
yeah,
source?
all through the open source.
Amazing. So that's a pretty good, how did, yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good go-to-market strategy. Sounds like you guys
Yeah.
nailed it. Um, yeah, very cool. Very cool. And so what's next with your company? You guys just raised, $6 million. Like what's on the roadmap? Like what's the big picture that you sold to the investors?
I think so. Our goal is to continue building the platform. I think so far we've been focusing a lot on the open source. We've been slowly
Hmm.
switching our focus more towards the platform itself. So giving you the insights, building more kind of better understanding of how your LLM or AI agent is working. And so a
Hmm.
lot of focus on the platform, finishing the trace loop. So like there's a whole loop of, okay, you get the traces, you use them to improve your app, and then you redeploy it into production so you can actually improve. So we're gonna finish the loop. We're gonna actually give you the whole loop of how to improve your application, and we really wanna also be able to do it automatically. And this is the talk that I gave at the conference last month. I was just talking about that, like how can you actually build this like kind of auto improving machine? Because I think like
Hmm.
this idea is really really interesting, and this might be like an interesting development in like the world of AI. Like imagine an agent that is able to kind of improve itself by learning from real world examples.
Got it. Um, Looking back at your founder journey, what are some counterintuitive lessons or piece of advice that you'd give to other founders, or even maybe to yourself? Like, if you were to start this over, like what were some of the surprising things that you've learned building this out?
Interesting. There's a lot of tips from we went through YC, and I think there's a lot of tips that YC gives you that are not super trivial at first, and it's hard for you to like to convince yourself that this is actually true.
Hmm.
There are two things that I thought about just before this conversation. Uh,
Hmm.
when me and Gal, my co-founder, we began, we had a we were thinking that I was thinking that top-down sales doesn't work, and Gal was thinking
Hmm.
that marketing doesn't work. And
Hmm.
the reason we thought that way is because it doesn't work on us. Like when people send me like these cold outreach emails or LinkedIn messages, I never answer. I don't understand like
Uh-huh.
who will ever answer these emails or messages. And God says
Uh-huh.
like about marketing, like nah, I don't buy it. And like I don't buy something because of marketing. But I remember one of the things that someone told us when we were at YC is that don't think about yourself, because you're not your target audience. You're founders. You know that people do this, like the behind the scenes of how people do this. So this is like why you're not you're less tolerant for, or more tolerant
Hmm.
to these like sales and marketing techniques. But for most
Hmm.
folks, they don't. When someone sends them like a cold outreach message, they don't get that many of them. So it's like it's not. So they tend to like respond more. And I was surprised to see that, yeah, top down sales still works. Cold outreach mails and cold outreach LinkedIn messages still work if you get that message right. And if you don't get that message right, this is why it won't work for you. And same goes for marketing. Marketing actually works, and people actually buy your product because of good marketing. So good marketing and good
Hmm.
sales actually work.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, definitely, I think cold email has got a lot more difficult, but I mean, that just means like you have to get better. Like, like a lot of people kind of spray and
Yeah.
paint, just kind of spam. So what's your like like how are you guys approaching marketing? Like I mean, I know we're doing this recording, so that's going to help.
Yeah,
But
podcast is a
yeah,
good way.
yeah, podcast is a
Yeah.
good way. Like, what else have you found that works? Like, are you guys doing cold outreach
Yeah,
now,
we're
or?
doing tons of cold outreach. Yeah, so marketing, conferences, webinars. We are selling to developers, so we need to, even when you're doing marketing, it needs to be super subtle. And I we were going to conferences. And I'm sometimes giving talks there. Usually, I try not to oversell or even sell our product. I mentioned, I'm the CEO of Traceloop. People know that, of course, but I'm not going on stage and just talking about, yeah, Traceloop is the best product. You should use Traceloop. If you're not using Traceloop, you're missing it. And here's a coupon code for 20% off. It will never work for developers. They're much more cynical, so you need to tone it down by like 10 degrees. But you're going there, and like I think, like, for marketing for developers, if you talk and you give value to your audience, they will make note of it. So this is how our SEO strategy works. Like we do blog posts, but we just write about AI. We write about LLMs. We write about things that are interesting for us, and we think that will be interesting for our audience. And yeah, same goes to like podcast talks that I'm giving, webinars, and everything. Like, I want to make useful context for my audience, and I hope that by giving them useful content, sorry, they will I don't know, they will think highly of me, and then and want to try the platform that I've built, because maybe I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense. So as a CEO, you still write code, you said, but also, like, I read that you hire engineers who can handle everything from ML research to customer support. Like, tell me a little bit about, like, what's your like how do you approach hiring? Like, what do you look for? It sounds like you're looking for Swiss Army knives when it comes to engineers. Like, what does that look like?
I think I don't know. I think that startups, that's the only way to be a kind of a first hire at a startup. You need to be able to do everything, and
Hmm.
it also goes back to my own personality. I like doing everything. I like being like the I like working with marketing and sales and engineering and product and everything that's going in our company. And so I'm looking for people who will be like me, who will also like doing a lot of stuff. And
Hmm.
the benefit is clear, in my opinion. Like, at this stage, being able to understand everything that's happening in the company will help you be a better engineer. If you talk to the customers, you know the pain points, and you know how to fix them for our customers. And so I think this is like this is really important. Finding them is really difficult, because not a lot of people want to do everything all the time.
Hmm.
I would say many engineers are more like, just give me, give me the linear ticket or something, and I will do it really well, but I will just do that. I don't wanna talk to customers. I don't want to talk to people. But there are some, but then on the other hand, there's like engineers who are like, just looking for a job like that, because they get so bored at just working in these big companies. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Makes sense. So if you were to give advice to engineers, like, now that AI is here, like, for them to grow, be more in demand, like, what would your advice be for, upcoming engineers?
Use
Up in.
every tool that is out there. Just don't like you have to use those AI tools, but you have to try and keep up with the industry. So, if last year everyone was using Copilot and now people are using Cursor, now you should
Mhm.
start also looking into, yeah, should they use Cloud Code? Should they use like those kind of semi-autonomous agents? Even Cursor has it, when you can just send it like a task, and it will autonomously go fix the task and create a PR for you. Just experiment
Mhm.
with these tools, because it will give you a better understanding of how to become like how to take advantage of them and become a 10x engineer.
Got it. And so, I mean, which one do you use? Do you use Cursor or Copilot?
We at the company we mainly use Cursor. We started using we were using Copilot at the beginning. Now it's Cursor. We started exploring Claude Code. One of our engineers tried it last week. He loved it. He said like that it's really good, especially because it's mainly using Sonnet 4, which is a great model for coding. And so yeah, and then I told everyone, just switch to whatever is working best for you.
Yeah, got it. And so, how much productivity boost are you getting from some of these like coding assistants or yeah?
It's really difficult to measure because you don't run an A/B experiment, right? You're not developing the same feature without AI and with AI, but you have I see like the fastest. There are some parts of coding that like just work really fast when you use AI, like Figma to React. This is something that people spend a lot of time. It's like a meticulous job of like making sure everything is pixel perfect. But with AI, you get the basic structure in a matter of like hours instead of days. So you have like really complex Figma drawing, and you just turn it into code in a couple of minutes or even like an hour instead of at least 2 to 3 days for one screen. So I would say this is like the biggest productivity gain. And like if you think about it, it's like so instead of 2 days, it takes you an hour. It's 20 times
Yeah.
at least. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's crazy how like I saw a not a podcast but like a mastermind video recording few like ex Facebook guys and I don't know Netflix guys, and they built a MVP of an app that just came up on a call. And it's something that I think previously, like, because I've been kind of like in the outsourcing software development space for quite some time, and previously, an outsourcing company would need like 3 to 6 months to build that. They built that in an hour and a half. It was crazy. I mean, it wasn't
Yeah.
deployed, but like still, it's just like okay, that's a pretty big gain. Um, so, question to you. So, do you guys use Traceloop at your company? Have you built any AI agents, or
Yes.
like, are
Yes.
you leveraging AI agents at your
Yeah. There's a
company?
lot of AI in our platform for
Okay.
inferring different, understanding better like the data that is coming into our platform, and we're using Traceloop ourselves to test our own AI agents. I love dog coding.
And so, what are like? Is there like some specific use case that you can, I don't know, tell us about
So
that?
yeah, sure. One of the core parts of our platform is like building evals. So you train an eval based on annotated examples that you give us, and so we use an agent to build the LLM as a judge for you. And this is something we also test rigorously with our own platform. And it's you need to make sure that you're not getting into a loop where you like you test your own code, but then that tested code is also tests itself, and like it never ends.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. Uh, Going through YC just to kind of close the loop on that, like, was it worth it? Would you say? Like, what's your thoughts about Y Combinator as a
I
whole?
like saying that doing YC is the closest you can get to become a second time founder without actually having to start a startup, fail, and then or succeed and then do it again. It honestly feels like I'm like a 1.5 times founder.
Nice, nice. Yeah, very cool. And then, are you guys now back in Israel, or do
Yes.
you need to spend time in San Francisco? How does that work?
Yeah, I go there all the time because it's like the mecca of AI. But yeah, most of the time in Israel, all the team is in Israel, and
Yeah, and how's the start? I mean, it's not like I think Israel is pretty, like a power in terms of like when it comes to like the startup world as well. So like how like do you see like AI like growing, or like the AI movement in Israel growing? Like what's like what do you
definitely,
see there?
definitely, the AI is booming in Israel. A lot of companies are building AI tooling and using AI. There's a lot of like even like Nvidia's R&D. There's a big office here of NVIDIA in Israel, and Microsoft, and all the big tech, and also a lot of startups. And there's there's like a nice thing where like the most of the companies are in Tel Aviv, so it's kind of like it's not that big, but it's a closely kind of like connected community of builders.
Yeah. There was like a little bit of a scare. I remember like I think a lot of like it was either like something related to the judicial system or like the funding that I think got a lot of startups in Israel spooked. Do you know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
yeah. We had a lot of things happening since then because we had the war, which is still going on,
Yeah.
and
Uh-huh.
we have hostages, and so I think there's a lot of kind of like turmoil going in Israel, but on the other hand,
Mhm.
it's like for me, it's like it makes you like you see how strong the community is and how strong this the companies are, because even even with all of these issues, people still are able to build successful startups, grow and succeed. So imagine what will happen, when things will be quiet here.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense. I know we're running out of time here. For some reason, I thought we had another half
Uh,
an hour, but I'm realizing we only have few
yeah.
minutes left, so I want to be mindful of your time. But um, a big theme for what we're doing is like trying to decide like when to use AI and over humans, and when are humans like in what roles humans are going to still be important, like which jobs are going to be around, which jobs are going to disappear. I don't know. What's your thoughts? I mean, for me, like it seems like there's definitely like a contraction that will happen on the marketing side because AI does a pretty good job of like, I don't know, brainstorming. The output that, comes out, I think it's quite good. Like, what do you see on the technical side? Do you see some positions just kind of disappearing, or like
I think
it's more
I think jobs just change. They never actually disappear, but
uh,
the people who used to ride horses are now driving cars, but they still exist, right?
right?
So I think that jobs just change, and so it goes back to engineering. So not just in engineering, in every job, every position, every role that you have in the world, you have to use AI.
Hmm.
If you're using AI, your job is safe. If you're not using AI, you're in danger. I see our UX at the company. He's using a lot of AI tooling for brainstorming and for like creating sketches and like high level fidelity Figmas, and he's using like V0 and Lovable and of course ChatGPT and Claude, and this enables him to become a 100x UXer, and people who are not doing that are just they're behind. They're behind everyone, and they will be and they will be left behind unless they do something different.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I mean, I mean, I know a lot of like really smart guys, like including some founders, and like one of them actually, like I talked to like a couple months
Yeah.
back. He bought like a big farm in California because he's like, I don't know if technology is going to be around.
We'll always need
So
food, so I think always like food is something we'll always
yeah.
need, and I don't see us not needing food at some point.
But believe it or not, there's a lot of those guys out there, and like I said, like I really respect them. They've done great things in tech and stuff like that, and they think this is the end. So I don't know. Like I mean, I'm leaning more towards what you said. I think this, at least for a foreseeable future, I think the job may disappear for a little bit, but like overall, it's going to create more jobs. Like even with what we're doing, it's like at some point I needed to hire someone to manage like the thing. As soon as we started growing, like I needed to hire someone to manage the team so
Yeah.
that I can focus on other things. So it's like, yeah, it's like, yes, we do 10 times more, but like, someone needs to oversee this stuff. And so I think we're still going to need
Hmm.
humans in the loop for a while.
Exactly.
But okay, Nir, is there anything that I haven't asked you that I should have asked you? And then, we can probably wrap up after that.
No, I think like Maybe I was mentioning that like we have so OpenLLMetry is completely open source, github.com/traceloop/OpenLLMetry, and our platform also has like a nice generous free tier. And I always love getting people to try it out and give us feedback. So if there's any feedback, then feel free to like reach out to me. I'm always available.
Okay, perfect, Nir. Well, thanks for coming on the show. We'll get this thing wrapped up here today, and then where can people find you? Is it LinkedIn, email? What's the best way then for
LinkedIn,
them to contact
Twitter.
you?
I'm also on TikTok. I started posting on TikTok, and it's working.
Oh, really?
Yeah, working with the Gen
Nice.
Z. Yeah,
Yeah. We just hired an agency to start posting on TikTok and Instagram. We're trying to figure that stuff out. But well, it's good to have you here. And then yeah, we'll be talking again soon, hopefully, or we'll see. How your company progresses. Sounds good.
sounds good. Thank you. It's great.